Hi, and welcome to Behind the Scenes with Axiom Medical. I'm your host, Jason McWinney. If you're first joining us, this is a behind-the-scenes look at the people that make Axiom Medical work. We've talked to a variety of different people over the past few months, from our marketing team to HR team to our vaccine team. And today we're going to bring you someone from our sales team. I'd like to introduce you to Kyle Tschudy, who's our Director of Enterprise Sales. Kyle, how are you?
Good. How are you doing, Jason? I
I'm
appreciate
doing well.
the time.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. So, introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are. What your role is, and how long you've been with the company.
Yeah. So Kyle Tschudy, I'm the Director of Enterprise Sales. So I support the sales pursuits and enterprise customers. So I've been with Axiom. Actually, tomorrow will be 11 months. So very exciting. I'm glad to be here. So yeah, that's my story so far.
Fantastic. Yeah, 11 months, and I'm sure they've gone by super fast.
Crazy fast. Crazy fast. I feel like in just a combination of, the CDC guidelines, the OSHA, ETS, so on and so forth. We just been slammed here, but I feel like I blinked and I'm already 11 months into the year, but it's been fun. So.
Yeah, and we were talking just before this about how, even recently, October felt like it was 5 minutes long, and now it's already November 17th, and before you know it, it's going to be 2025.
Yeah, I know. And then my boys will be hopefully driving cars, maybe even out of the house. I don't know. I haven't done the math yet, but yeah.
Fingers crossed, I bet.
I know, right? Yeah.
So you mentioned you have boys. Tell us a little bit about you. You obviously have kids.
Yeah, man. So I've been happily married now for 12 years. I think that's right. So, but yeah, I got my beautiful bride and my best friend, partner in crime as well. But I've got two awesome, full of energy, funny kids. So the oldest one, his name is Van, and he is 9. And then the youngest one, his name is Brock, and he is 6. So between flag football and soccer and just church and all of their little friends' activities, we stay pretty busy on the week or in the week, and then on the weekends for sure. So.
Wow, that sounds like you have your hands full.
Oh yeah, but I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your position, Director of Enterprise Sales. You'll walk us through that. What is that exactly?
Yeah. So at Axiom, we've got some really great customers who have been with us for, ever since we started out, 20 plus years ago, that are still, customers numbers 1 and 2. And I believe our customer numbers now are somewhere in the, 10,000, 11,000 customer number range. Right. So, but at the same token, we've got some great new customers coming on board literally every day. And so it's been a true pleasure to kind of hold these people's hands and guide them through these uncharted waters, especially with COVID, so on and so forth. But then our injury case management customers as well. So just keeping them happy and making sure we ultimately protect their most important asset, which is their employee.
Of course. It's I'm biased because I also work here, but it's great to work for a company that helps people on a day-to-day basis.
And speaking of that, like just like in my role, like being a sales director, right? So like naturally I'm a sales guy, right? Like I love like pursuing and guiding customers down this path, and then ultimately, kind of winning the deal. But, one of the most rewarding parts of my job is, sales is kind of this emotional roller coaster where you're going to have good days and bad days, just like any other job. But really just whenever my reps, mine particularly, kind of use me as a sounding board, like whether the good days, the bad days, but really my job is really to encourage them and just kind of give them the resources that they need or point them in the right direction on something. But that's really the once I get to that level of kind of intimacy in a good way with my reps, that's when I love it. Right. So.
Fantastic. So 11 months tomorrow. Where were you prior to this?
Yeah, so I spent about 10 years in telecom. Probably about 8 of those years was in a leadership role. So, and it's weird because the telecom to medical, that doesn't necessarily translate, but just with the level of awareness on IT products, how IT solutions work, and really, Axiom, we have our portfolio is heavily based on IT infrastructure. So just kind of understanding how that works and the format of it has really been a key kind of attribute to kind of coming in and grabbing the Axiom bull by the horns, so to speak. So, yeah.
That's great. Now, I noticed that you have a very large ring on your finger, on your right hand. I was wondering if maybe you could show everyone what that is.
Yeah, so this is Sam Houston State. So Eat 'em Up Cats. So I graduated there from 2007. I met my wife there as well, and so I'm a big supporter of the Bearcats. So yeah, Sam Houston State.
And for the people that aren't in Texas or someone like me who's Canadian, where is Sam Houston State?
So Sam Houston is about an hour north, maybe 45 minutes north of Houston. So in Huntsville, Texas. So, yep.
So are you a born and bred Texan?
Yeah. So it's crazy. I was born and raised in Spring, Texas, and actually the house that I live in right now is probably 5 miles away from the house that I grew up in. And then my mom and dad live about 2 miles away. And then my brother, he lives about a mile right in the middle between me and my parents. So, so it's good that I've got 2 beautiful little nieces, and they're fun. And then I've also got an older nephew, Dax. He's 12. So, yeah.
Wow, that's lucky.
Yeah.
I'm currently about 1,700 miles away from my childhood home and my family. So it's nice to probably have your family around and just so close. You can just, get together anytime you want.
Yeah. And sometimes it's a little more than, than needs to happen, showing up unexpectedly. Right. Well, hang on. Right. But no, it's fun. I would not trade it for anything. It's good.
So, well, I'll go back and I'll cut that part out in case your mom watches this.
Just in case. My mom's probably watching right now.
We're sorry, Mom.
Yeah.
That was not you. That was someone else he was talking about. So you talked about your kids. What type of hobbies do you have outside of all the things that you have to do with your kids?
So I'm a man of faith. You'll catch me at church on Wednesday nights, and you'll catch me in church Sunday mornings. My wife and I, we co-lead a small group, fancy word for Sunday school class, because if you call it Sunday school class, nobody will show up. But so we call it a small group. So my wife and I, we've been doing that for several years now. We enjoy it. But whenever I'm not in the church, not being a husband, not being a dad, man, I really love smoking meat. In my smoker, I'll smoke anything from chicken. I'll smoke some meatloaf, smoke brisket, of course, sausage, queso. That's another one a lot of people don't know you can smoke. So, but love to fish. I do. Fishing and hunting is kind of weird, where it's a passion, but I just don't get to do it as often as I'd like. Right. So, but yeah, but smoking for sure, smoking meat. So,
yeah, I live in Houston, so South Texas. I'm very familiar with all of the smoked things that you can get. Whereas, you're in Dallas, of course they have smoked stuff too, but I went to the State Fair in Dallas, and there's a whole hall that's just dedicated to deep fried stuff.
Yeah,
which is amazing. Texas is just so broad and so huge.
Yeah. I'm kind of a believer, like almost like you can deep fry almost anything. Like I've got to believe you can probably smoke almost anything, but maybe not. I think there's a deep fried ice cream that they do up there in the State Fair or whatever it is. but I'm not there yet with the smoking, but we'll get there one day.
You'll get there. So what's your favorite thing to smoke?
My favorite thing to smoke, I mean, my chicken is good. I mean, it's a beer can. My mom calls it beer butt chicken, but it's a beer can chicken. So you get a beer can, pour half of it out, or you can drink half of it, right? Put it on there, put the chicken over the beer, and then there's a 4-3-2-1 dry rub that I use, and I'll put it on there, maybe smoke it. It's fairly easy, maybe for about a good 4 hours. So on a Sunday afternoon, watching football, you got the smoker going on. I've got a pretty nice outdoor kitchen, so that's where you'll find me on Sunday afternoons, just kind of hanging out. So, yep.
So again, for the people that aren't in Texas, what's a 4-3-2-1 rub?
All right, so 4-3-2-1 is just the increments, right? So it's 4 parts, right? So you'll do 4 parts salt. And guys, take this. If y'all make this, if you can copy this recipe, I'll let you. So 4 parts salt, 3 parts brown sugar, 2 parts paprika, and then 1 part cayenne pepper. You just rub that all over the bird, and then put it in for about 4 hours, and then pull it off. And here's another like tidbit a lot of people don't know. Once you pull it off, you got to let it sit. When I'm saying you let it sit for a good 30-40 minutes for birds. So yeah, you cut into it and just juice will just flow out. I mean, it's really good. Yeah.
That's great. That's good to know.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people won't share their barbecue secrets, but you know, we've got some breaking barbecue tips from Kyle here. So
yeah, I mean, I don't get the time, but it is fun. So yeah.
That sounds like a fun Sunday, barbecuing and watching football.
I mean, it's almost like it's clockwork on the weekends over here. It's not only that, but like sometimes my neighbors or my family will come over. Sometimes I ask them, sometimes I didn't. They just hear or they smell that I'm cooking, and then they'll just show up. I'm like, all right, yeah, I guess we got enough food, but it's fun. I mean, the kids love it. They love having their friends over. We enjoy the company, but ultimately it's just kind of, you know, just building that kind of community where people get together, right? So
for sure,
we enjoy that.
We're getting some comments in here. Tiffany Diane says, loving these tips. We're loving smoking barbecue at least once a month.
Oh yeah, perfect.
And Sarah Brenner says, y'all are making me hungry.
Oh yeah.
And then we got another comment from Holly Foxworth. Look at you two. Love it. For those who don't know, Holly is our host for our webinars that we have every second Thursday. We'll have one tomorrow, but she was also my first guest on this show. And Christy just left a message too. Said I'm starving for some Texas barbecue. Christy is a Axiom Medical person as well, but she moved from Texas to Florida, so she's missing the Texas barbecue.
Yeah, I'm sure she's not missing the Texas beaches compared to the Florida beaches, but that's another.
No, I doubt it. Fantastic. Yeah. So what does the future hold for Kyle?
Man, you know, I one thing, you know, I'm still learning. I'm loving. I am totally content and happy with where I am now. But you know, ultimately, the sky's the limit, and I truly believe that Axiom has the infrastructure to really scale. So really that's what I'm looking for, is to stay inside Axiom. But as we continue to scale, you know, I would like to be a part of that. So maybe one of these days I'll take Chad's spot.
Chad's
my boss, so hopefully he's not watching, but
I'll edit this out in case Chad wants to rewatch it.
Yeah.
Or Chad. Kyle's gunning for you. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about COVID and how, you know, your family has adapted and like everyone else. And we talked just before coming live about, you know, the room that I'm in has evolved into, it's constantly evolving. It's just, it's a micro organism that's just more of a macro organism that keeps evolving and changing. You know, what are some things that have changed for you since COVID started?
I mean, my wife, she works in the work, like she has a job, right? Like, so, she has her career. I have my career. One of the things there's been the good part of COVID, like not the illness part, but my wife and I, we were on the road a lot before COVID. I mean, I'm flying out of town. She's flying into town literally on the same day. And if there was a delayed flight, like that's whenever we would have to call my brother, my sister-in-law, my mom, dad, hey, I need you to go get the boys from daycare or whatever it was. But so because of COVID, we were actually able to kind of be grounded in our house. I mean, it kind of sounds awful, but we didn't know the extent at the beginning. But man, just the ability to have dinner every night. Like I said earlier, we love to cook. I love community, but in 2019, it was almost so extreme because we were just bouncing all over the country. At that time, I was all over. I was the sales director for the entire state of Texas. So I was on the road a lot. My wife flying internationally. So it's been good in that retrospect to be able to be home, have dinner, put my kids to bed every night, so on and so forth, and not have to worry about catching a flight the next morning because daddy's going to be out of town or mommy's going to be out of town. So that is good. On the flip side of things, working when you have your kids, I mean, for those of y'all who know me, I'm pretty high energy, but my kids are like me on steroids. So whenever I found out real quick, my wife and I, God bless the teachers, but I am not a teacher, nor is my wife. And I take my work like very serious. And when I have somebody who needs help for a math problem, I'll just say this, God was testing my patience during the early stages of COVID with the work teacher situation. But yeah, I probably would have paid $1 million to get on a plane at that specific moment. But yeah, it was, so that part was challenging. And then plus, not like the illness, you've got loved ones who have passed away. My grandma and grandpa who were married 70 years in the peak of COVID. My grandpa was in the hospital. Literally, my grandma has her apartment in the same. I think it's a CCRC. That's what they call them. But my grandma has her apartment at the top right of the building. And then down here is where the hospital is. And she's literally a couple of hundred steps in walking distance to see my grandpa. And they've been married. They were married for 70 plus years. And like she could not see him. But what they did do is they talked to nurse. I don't know how transparent I should be on this, but they talked to the nurse who was tending to my grandpa since he was on the first floor to open the window, and my grandma would walk by just so they could have, maybe a 20 to 25 foot discussion. So that was cool to see them kind of adapt to do that. But ultimately, man, it sucks. You have somebody who's been married for, 70 plus years, and that's what kind of they had to go through. So that's kind of tough. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there are a lot of versions of that story out there over the past year and a half and a bit. It's a tough one. So, what immediate plans? You guys going on any trips or anything like that?
Oh, great question. Yeah. So we are going to Greece the end of March, beginning of April, with another friend. So this would be outside of kids. So the kids are staying at home. Mommy and daddy are going to go play. So we're going to go to Greece. So we're going to fly into Athens, hang out there for, I think, 2 nights. Then we're going to go to Santorini, hang out there for about 4 days. And then we're going to bounce back to Corinth, Greece, and then hang out there for a couple of days and then come back after that. So that'll be a 10-day trip. And then I think at some point we're supposed to be going to Mexico in the middle of the summer. And yeah, it's we love to travel too. I did not say that. So, but yes, so we do have plans.
Travel is medication for a lot of people. It definitely is for me. I'm heading to New Orleans myself soon, so a little quick trip, but just to get out of the daily hustle and bustle. Well, anything else you want to share with us, Kyle, before we drop off here?
No, man, I think this was a great discussion, great dialogue, and for anybody who's watching, if you have any barbecue secrets you want to share, I'd gladly take those.
Drop them in the comments.
Yeah, drop them in there. So, but ultimately, no, I'm very grateful for Axiom. I love what we do. I love supporting my reps, encouraging them, but ultimately, I love serving our customer base. So, yeah.
Well, I know we're happy to have you. Well, that wraps us up for this edition of Behind the Scenes with Axiom Medical. Thank you, Kyle, again for stopping by, and we'll see you next time, everybody.